Hey guys.
Hi.
So, I had like 5 or 6 subscribers message me on YouTube, and they wanted me to cover the subject of dark entities. And some people specified they wanted me to discuss my experience with dark entities and demonic entities specifically. Now, as I told these very valued subscribers, in general, I don't go interacting with things or generally stay around things that aren't fun to be around. Like, if I feel uncomfortable, then I'm going to remove myself from the situation, or I'm going to try and take some steps to alleviate some of that negative energy. Because I definitely feel very sensitive as far as I pick up on, like, emotions and feelings, and I see things out of the corner of my eye, but I don't specifically, like, see things face on, like, interact with people like you see on, like, the Ghost Whisperer or whatever. Like, that's not how it works for me. I mostly just pick up on, like, emotions, and if I'm feeling, like, any of the symptoms that we're going to list later, I normally just get out, because if an entity is giving you these kind of feelings, that means they want you to leave. So that's what I do, is I just leave. So that's why I don't have any experience with, like, negative entities other than, like, one, which we'll touch on later. But this is my best friend Kendra, and she has more experience with negative entities, like, in her childhood and stuff like that. And so I brought her in as a collaborator because I thought that this was a pretty good subject to cover, because it's generally people are very interested in it. That was the garage light, so don't get freaked out. But people are very generally interested in this topic. So I wanted to cover it, but I felt like it was a good one. So this is Kendra, and she has, like, a little disclaimer for you.
Yeah, I have a few. Basically, the first one, if you're going to go looking for it, be prepared to find it. And if you're going to say the name of whatever it is you're looking for, it's going to be worse than what you're expecting. I can almost guarantee that one.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that you've had positive experience with before, in which case, by all means, have fun.
Well, everyone has different relationships with different entities,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, trust me,
But
I'll cover that one later.
Well, if what we're trying to say is, if you are not experienced if you're not experienced in dealing with these different entities, if you're a novice, then we recommend that you do not mess with Ouija boards or tarot cards or anything of that nature, like, asking questions with a pendulum. Like, don't do it.
Now, if you have experience with these items, then by all means, or if you are a novice and you want to learn how to use them, please find someone who knows how to do it. I recommend someone who's been in the profession for
And find someone who
years.
can protect you.
Yeah.
And teach you how to protect yourself.
The last thing you want to do is have something attach itself to you because you were screwing around
while you're just starting.
Yeah.
You don't want something attached to you for the rest of your life while you're just starting to learn something.
Yeah.
So, don't mess with Ouija boards. I'm a novice, and I'm not very experienced, but Ouija boards give me bad vibes. I just don't go near them. I avoid them like the plague, and I don't want anything to do with them.
In my experience, Ouija boards have always opened up a portal to the other worlds, if you choose to call it that. And usually it manifests in a poltergeist. And if you're going to do that anywhere in your house, be prepared.
Or even if you're going to do it anywhere, because it will attach itself to you.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you end a session or whatever. It doesn't matter. If it wants to follow you just because you said goodbye, doesn't mean that it can't attach itself.
Goodbye.
Yeah. just because you said goodbye doesn't mean that it's gonna leave.
It's like that creepy ex that likes to follow you around.
So just keep that in mind. Don't be stupid. If you're gonna go look for these things and you want to observe different, different aspects of the paranormal, then that's fine. Find someone who can teach you the right way. Find someone who's gonna protect you and teach you how to protect yourself. That's what we're trying to say. So, because this subscriber asked me about my personal experience, I have one personal experience with a negative entity that I can share. And, she has a couple of experiences that she's going to share. So, we're going to start with Kendra, and then, when she's done, I'll add in my personal experience.
My main personal experience deals with a demon that attached itself to me when I was, 5. And he's recently detached himself only because he lost interest, I guess. But anytime I'd have someone come over to the house, spend the night, they would always wake up with bruises, cuts, bite marks, anything of a harmful nature. Their parents would blame me, and I would tell them, no, it was blue. That's why I called my demon my own personal preference. I'm not getting into that. Pretty much, their parents would blame me. I wasn't responsible. I'd let them know I wasn't responsible. The parents wouldn't let their kids come around me anymore. So I was a bit of a social outcast, luckily for me. It allowed me to play with this stuff even more. Not always a great thing to admit. But basically, this stuff, it's nothing to play with. And growing up with a priestess for an aunt, I learned very quickly what to and not to do. Having a transition demon visit you while you're sleeping, not the best experience, and I went through that for about 2 years. But, you've gone through a transition here recently. Would you care to tell them yours?
Yeah, that's actually my one experience with, just want to make sure it's still recording, with a negative entity. I have blocked off, anything from visiting me in my dreams. It's going crazy. Anything from visiting me in my dreams. I choose not to dream a lot of the time. And I'm not saying that I'm invincible and I can block off anything. It's just that this entity decided that it would be more entertaining for it to visit my son, since he cannot defend himself and he can't protect himself. So this entity we took steps to prevent it, but this next entity was giving my son night terrors. My son was 1 year old, and he wasn't a perfect sleeper by any means. He didn't sleep through the night, and he was almost 1, but he never had issues with going back to sleep until about 3 months ago, when I decided that I was going to switch religions, and I was going through this transition period. And I was researching different religions, and this entity, we'll just call it an entity, this entity decided that it was going to visit my son, and it was going to give him night terrors. And so my son, he went from being a decent sleeper, being able to go back to sleep fairly easily in the middle of the night, sleeping in his crib by himself. My son had such terrible night terrors that he would wake up in the middle of the night, sit bolt upright or stand in his crib, and scream bloody murder, sweating, cold sweat, completely clammy, and
he was burning up with a fever.
Yeah, and he would just scream. I had to hold him for 5 minutes just to get him to calm down.
Didn't you have to take him out of the room a couple times?
I had to take him. He was sleeping in the living room because we have a 1-bedroom house, and I had to literally I had to remove him from the room where the crib was, because once he saw the crib, he connected that with going back to sleep, and he flipped. He didn't want to be anywhere near that crib, because that meant that he had to go back to sleep. So I took him, and he started sleeping with me and my husband, and we took steps to kind of intervene, and it had helped a lot. He could still be dreaming of those things, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the entity is visiting him. It just means that he's having memories and flashbacks. So I mean, we've been dealing with that, and it's been going pretty good so far. So that's the only one bad experience that I have. Now, you want to do positive experiences now?
Yeah. Yeah, positive is always a nice way to get away from the negative. For anybody that's had negative, keep in mind not all spirits are bad. A lot of spirits actually want to help you, or they're just lonely.
Yeah, they're just lonely, or, they want to communicate, or they want to feel like they're not just existing.
A lot of them feel lost and forgotten.
And a lot of them don't know that they're dead. A lot of them died very traumatic deaths, and they don't realize that they're dead. And everything is changing around them, and it's so confusing. And you might feel scared, but they just are living their normal life like they have been forever, and you're scaring them. Like,
Yeah.
Have you ever, there's a movie about that. It's got that Australian actress in it, Nicole Kidman. I don't remember the name of it, but it's basically about the ghosts, and they're living in a house, and they're scared of the people, and the people are scared of them, and they don't realize that they're dead.
Yeah.
So that happens sometimes, and not everything's bad.
For instance, growing up, anytime I'd have a particular friend, come over to the house, we would wait till about 2 o'clock in the morning and look into the hallway and see this old guy with a hat pushing a buggy. And he would stop, look at us, wave, and go about pushing his buggy. And I mean, he roamed the hallway for about 3 hours, and we'd just sit up and watch him because we knew he meant us no harm. He knew we meant him no harm. So it was one of those, it wasn't negative. It was actually kind of comical when you think back on it.
Some people have visits from loved ones, like whether that's in a dream or some people say that they feel their guardian angel, which is like a recently passed loved one around them. And up until very recently, I felt me and my grandma were very, 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 very close. And she died almost 2 years ago. And I felt like my grandma was watching over my son. Now, I felt her all the time up until recently. And I feel like that's because she's with my mom right now. My mom's having a hard time. Her birthday was last month, and my mom's dad just died. So both my mom's parents have passed away. And I feel like she's with my mom right now because my mom needs her more. And so, that happens sometimes. And so there are positive experiences along with negative experiences, and not like we said, not everything is negative. And just because you're unfamiliar with the paranormal doesn't mean that you should always be scared of every little bump in the night.
Yeah, and don't always associate the ghost standing at the edge of your bed for some evil spirit that wants to suck your soul out of your body. Sometimes it's just somebody who's curious about what you're saying in your sleep, because you could be talking Latin and don't even know it.
Yeah. Or, if you're someone who's very inexperienced and the paranormal scares you, these symptoms don't necessarily apply to you. But if you're someone experienced with paranormal and have multiple paranormal experiences, and you're watching this vlog because you are researching the paranormal, and things like this, they don't bother you. You're kind of like us, like we just take it as we see it, and we're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Until it's something that we have to deal with.
Like recently.
Yeah. So, if you ever a lot of people say that they walk into houses and they feel sick. They feel nauseous, nervous,
anxious, jittery, get the chills, and it's cold outside.
Scared is it could be really big or it could be not so big depending on the person. Like, see, me, because I'm pretty sensitive, so if I walk into a house and I'm scared or Kendra's scared, then that's pretty big, and that's something that needs to be dealt with immediately.
Yes.
But if my 6-year-old cousin walks into a creepy old house and she's kind of scared, like, that's to be expected, like, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. It's all about that line. Everybody has a a line, and you have to decide know your limits, and what is your limit, like what is scary to you, and what creeps you out, and what is the line. Like, don't cross that line. For me, I would have to say, I woke up this morning and I walked out to my herb garden last night, and I made sure that I closed the door and locked it. And I woke up this morning and my door was unlocked and open a little bit. That's a line for me, because I have a small child, and, you know, I have a family. So that's a major line for me, and I addressed that right away. I was like, look, I have a small child. I understand that, you know, you may not have done it on purpose to breach security in my home, but that is not acceptable. Do not leave doors unlocked at all. If I lock them, they're locked for a reason, and you leave them locked, otherwise you can leave.
Well, it's like the experience me and my husband have with wandering spirits. We welcome wandering spirits, not as a, hey, it's our house, that means it's your house. No, it's, you're wandering, you're passing through, you're welcomed into our home. Do not purposely scare anyone. Do not purposely go out of your way to make yourself a nuisance. Welcome yourself in, take a reprieve, and then leave.
Yeah, and that's something that we were also going to touch on, is you have to set your house rules. She has house rules, I have house rules, and if we feel any presence, like my house doesn't have a specific presence that always resides there. My house is not haunted. I feel like I'm a very sensitive person, so I pick up on different, like, I call them drive-by haunting, like drive-by ghosts.
I call them wanderers.
Yeah, I pick up on them. And, like, last night, I picked up on one, and that's probably the one who left the door open, honestly, but I picked up on one.
He his way out,
yeah,
don't you know?
I picked up on one, and my son, I was rocking my son to sleep in the living room, and I picked up on something, and I couldn't go back to sleep because I was feeling so anxious, and that usually happens with me, so that wasn't something that was like, oh my god. But that usually happens with me when I feel some energy around, and I was feeling anxious, and so I just straight up addressed it, and I was like, hey, look, you know, like, you're welcome to stay here as long as you want, but don't go scaring my kid, don't scare my family, don't scare me, like, these are the rules, respect them, or leave.
Yeah.
Because I'm not someone that, you know, you want to mess with. Like, this is my house, this is my sacred place, because that's what your house is a sacred place.
This is your sanctuary.
My sanctuary, and these are the rules in my sanctuary.
And you need to respect them, whether you're paranormal, human, or otherwise.
Right. And just because I can sense you, and I can sometimes see you, and I can hear you, doesn't mean that you can bully me or my family. So, you know, it's all about that.
Set your boundaries.
Set your boundaries, know your limits, and they're different for everyone.
And
now,
if you feel something in your house and you're not good with dealing with the paranormal, don't be rude. Just kindly ask the entity to leave. Just say, hey, I'm not comfortable with you being here. Could you please leave my home?
And 90% of the time they'll be like, all right, well, you're not interesting anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, you're kind of boring.
Like, meh. So, another thing that we wanted to know, or we wanted to state, is a lot of people don't know this because we joke about it because people, you know, like you see it in scary movies and people tell you that they had a bad dream and they pull the blanket over their head, or they hide under the blankets, or, you know, you pull the blanket up over you because it's kind of cold in the room, you feel like something's there.
Or you accidentally have your hand slip over the edge of the bed and you start freaking out, oh my god, something's going to grab me.
Yeah.
That blanket's not going to save you.
It's not like a force field. It does nothing. Like, if you see it or you feel it, it knows that you're there. And that's, again, you have to set that boundary. You either, if it's like in the middle of the night, what I like to do, if it's the middle of the night, and I feel like I can't go back to sleep because something's chilling in my room, or something's in my house, and I'm feeling weird, I just send off that vibe. Like, look.
I don't want you here.
I don't want you here. I mean, if you want to stay here, that's cool. But
just go to another room.
Go to another room. Don't watch me sleep. That's just creepy. Like, I send off that vibe, and I'm just like I send out like my little antennas, and I'm just like, look, go away. Like, don't watch my kids sleep. Don't watch me sleep.
Don't
like,
watch my husband sleep.
Yeah, don't watch my husband sleep. Like, go away, hang out in the garage, go do something, or leave.
Go play with the cats.
Yeah. Like, go play with the cats. So,
another good rule to remember that my grandfather used to tell me all the time: if you can see me, I can see you.
yeah.
Which plays into the whole the cover's not gonna save you.
Yeah. Like, and if you see an entity, if your house is not normally quote unquote haunted, I mean, I use that term loosely. A lot of people, I'm just saying that because that's what most people identify a ghost with. So if you feel like your house is not haunted, but like you're feeling extra creeped out that night, then
take the steps.
Take the steps. It's all about that. Now, moving away from the steps, if you want to take it's a temporary approach, but it lasts a little bit longer. Obviously, then you won't have to repeat yourself a million times. Like, be like, hey, these are my rules. If you feeling a little bit weird, like there's something hanging out in your house that's normally not there, or you struggle with negative energy and negative entities in your house, or even if there's something that you feel like it's not really bothering you, but you just want to like
make sure it's not
gonna mess with you.
Yeah.
Like, I always recommend that you sage your house. She recommends the same thing. We recommend that you sage your house. That is kind of like a first step.
You salt your property.
Salt your property.
If the saging doesn't work, you can use black salt. You can use white salt.
I mean, like, and I say this because I know people who are freak out at black salt, and I know you're watching this.
We love you.
We love you. But you know, if you do a lot of research, it says like black salt is perfectly fine. But then again, it's all up to what you believe and the intention that you put into a tool. Just because something's black doesn't mean it's necessarily evil. It all goes with your practice and what you believe, even if you're not like you know a pagan or Wiccan or whatever you are.
Use what you are comfortable with. If the color black makes you uncomfortable, don't use it.
Use sea salt.
Yeah.
Salt, whatever. Use whatever you can get your hands on.
Use cooking salt.
Lavender is good. Lavender's good at repelling spirits. You can just burn like sage incense or loose sage and like that. I mean, that's not a very like proactive approach. That's kind of.
I thought I seen something moving over there. I was like, oh, it's your shadow.
Yeah,
okay.
It is my shadow. But it's not a very like proactive approach. It's not a very aggressive approach. It's just kind of like something you should do every so often because you carry emotional baggage home with you all the time and bad energy and people bickering in your house. You need to get rid of all of that crap because it's just toxic in your life.
Amber is another good thing to have in your house because it absorbs negativity. But first, before you place out amber, meditate with the amber in your hand so that you pick up on the vibrations from it. This way, whenever you're going to get rid of the negativity, you understand, hey.
You're the crystal lady. She's the crystal lady, and I'm the herb lady. All the advice that I'm going to give to you is all herbal advice, and she's going to give you, like, all kinds of, like clear quartz and rose quartz.
Oh, by the way, this has nothing to do with dark entities, but if you ever go to Mystic Moon and you pick up a little thing of clear quartz, it does not save you gas, okay?
Or any other metaphysical source.
Unless you're going to throw that thing in your gas tank or underneath your gas pedal. Probably
underneath your gas pedal.
White quartz, clear quartz, that's not going to save you
That's
gas.
people taking advantage of you.
So if you go to Mystic Moon, please beware.
But yeah, lavender is really good for purifying areas. Like, whenever my son's having bad dreams and I'm noticing that his dreams are, like, picking up a little bit, I like to rub a little bit of lavender essential oil on his sheets and, like, maybe, like, on his bedrolls or whatever. And I like to sprinkle some, like, fresh lavender on his bed or, like, underneath his mattress. And it makes the room smell really good. And plus, like, it's a good... It blocks negative energy and negative spirits. So it's pretty much the same thing as sage. Cinnamon is really good too. Like, you can hang cinnamon above your doorways, or even like put it on like the little ledge of the doorway so that no one can see it if you don't want to be like conspicuous. That's really good to do. Like we said, salt, sage, like all of these things are really good. Rosemary is really good.
If you're having a bad day and you want to briefly get rid of all the negativity, take a pinch of sugar, put it in your hand, throw it over your right shoulder. Or, right. Throw it over your right shoulder. Throw it over your right shoulder because that's going to help you get rid of some of the negativity. I've read that plenty of places as
Italians
well.
do it with salt. I mean, like, hey, it's about whatever works for you. Whatever works for you and your mojo. Like,
And
everybody
you gotta
has
be
something
comfortable.
different. You got to be comfortable with it. Whatever
And-
works for you is good. Just make sure that you don't bring that crap home with you because that's what poltergeists come out of.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Also, if you have no experience in this, but you know people who do, please have those people come to your house and help you cleanse because, one, you get to see how they do it. Two, you have somebody who knows what they're doing. And you're not just sitting there going, I think this is working. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Another thing is whenever you sage, a lot of people just sage and they go over all of the windows and all the doorways. You have to make sure that you're doing it in one fluid motion because if you're breaking it off, like
You're giving space for the negative to come in.
Another thing that I like to tell people whenever they're talking about house cleansing and stuff like that, and this is just something personal with me that I feel is right in my home, and a lot of people don't do this, and that's cool, it's up to you, but I'm just throwing that out there. A lot of people sage and, you know, they come back and they're still feeling a little weird. And personally, in my belief, I believe that's because you're taking all this crap, all this negative energy, bad spirits, whatever, you're taking it and throwing it out on your doorstep, right? Mm-hmm. You're leaving empty holes everywhere. Make sure that you're filling that space with positive energy and love and light. And that's what I do whenever I sage my house. I go around and I say, I'm banishing all negative energy and I'm filling this space with love and light. And I say it over and over and over as I go through the house. And I walk through all of the places where someone can walk through. And I just make sure that I know that whatever is here, whatever's hanging out here, even if it's just negative energy or if it's a spirit, whatever it is, needs to leave because it's not welcome here because I'm staging my house and I'm cleansing and I'm purging and I'm filling this space with love, light, and positive energy. Because that's what I want to reside in my house. And I feel like that's important because that takes, that takes that negative space and it fills it so that something can't come in there and chill out.
And if you can't get your hands on a sage smudging stick, which is basically all the sage bundled
together, go to the
together,
grocery store and buy it.
Get plain loose leaf sage.
And you can just burn it in a little bowl.
Put it in a little bowl, or in my case, I have abalone shell.
Yeah, I even linked it. Like, I have a little clay pot and shell. It's meant for, like, salsa, and I use it for a sage bowl.
Yeah.
But, like, make sure you designate one bowl for that. And I like to burn loose leaf sage because sometimes even those sage bundles, they're bundled too tight, and you can't get them to hold a flame. The sage, if it's loose and it's dry,
sticks.
Whatever. I feel like sometimes, like, it doesn't even smoke. Like, it'll smoke for a second, and then it won't. You gotta really, like, I hold the lighter on there for like a couple minutes.
The only bad thing with loose leaf sage is sometimes only one leaf will catch fire, and once that's burned out, it's burned out.
Yeah, and then that's a gap.
Yeah.
So, just, I like to, like, light the whole pile. If I'm using, like, loose leaf sage, I make sure that I light that sucker, and I light the whole entire pile, and I make sure that it's all burning.
And, I mean,
I make my ritual kind of quick.
And if you're superstitious, go to any and all mirrors in the house. Sage the mirror, sage the pictures, sage the windows, sage everything. Everything.
Sage every room in the house. That means bathroom, closets, a garage, everything.
And if you're worried about the smell because you think
it's
sage
smells
like pot, burn some lavender and nettles with it.
Or you can take some lavender essential oil, put it in some boiling water, and let it simmer throughout the house. And that kind of is like a double whammy. It does the same thing.
Or you can use incense sticks throughout the house.
Incense sticks. If you're not big on smoke, the lavender boiling thing works too. And you can do that with any sort of herb, like rosemary. You can do it with lavender. You can use it with cinnamon. Cinnamon's a good one too because everybody likes cinnamon.
Cookies.
Yeah, whatever. But make sure after you're done saging that you close the house up.
Yeah, close the windows, close the doors. Don't leave anything open after saging because that's just doing the whole, well, I got rid of all the smoke, so y'all can come in.
Yeah.
No.
So, do you have anything else to add?
Just keep in mind the rules of 3. If you say the name 3 times,
it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Any bad thing that you do, any bad thing that you invoke, it's going to come back on you 3 times, and that could potentially follow you throughout your whole entire life.
And if it doesn't attack you, it will attack the ones you love.
Yep, because that hurts you the most.
Keep in mind, if I can see you, or you can see me, I can see you. But pretty much, other than that, guys, be blessed and have a wonderful life.
See you later.
Peace.
Hopefully Kendra can come back and do more shows. like this video if you want Kendra to come back, or if you have any specific questions to ask Kendra or ask me, message me in my YouTube or leave it in the comments down below, and
we'll do a
she'll
video
be back
about it.
to answer it. Alright, love you guys. See you later. I hope you liked that video, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. Also, if you have a paranormal experience, share it with me down in the comments, or you can connect with me on Twitter and Facebook at La Bella Vita, the same way it's spelled here. Keep a lookout for my latest paranormal videos by subscribing to my channel. Thanks, guys!